Happy Friday, good people. Welcome to Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze because if we don't decide to burn down the system, it appears as though Earth is going to handle that job for us. So we might as well get cracking before the Earth collects us in front of all of us in the worst way possible with climate disasters and climate change. You guys, people are getting struck and killed by lightning here in Washington, D.C. It is a madness in the world right now. Babylon soon fall for certain. I am so excited to see you all here joining me in the place to be. Thank you all so much for coming on in. Come on in, everybody. I think YouTube is hating. I don't think YouTube is sending out the proper notifications for the people to come in and hang out with us. But that's okay. Fuck them. We're still going to do our thing in here tonight. We've got a good show in store for you. I really looked for good news, y'all. I did. And good news was not to be found. I have to say, terrible news coming out of Russia as it relates to Brittney Griner, but the chances that a prisoner swap will be executed, hopefully sooner and later, perhaps became a little bit more viable after a judge sentenced her to 9 years. I'm not going to get too deep on it. I do have some thoughts about it. And also coming up in the show, I want to talk about Attorney General Merrick Garland yesterday making the announcement that the DOJ was seeking charges against the killers and co-conspirators of the Louisville Metro Police Department in connection with the murder of Breonna Taylor. And when I watched the press conference, I did not see what I thought I should have been seeing. I heard, improper violation of Breonna's civil rights and misleading, filing the warrant application. I'm like, I'm sorry, murder? Is there a murder charge coming out in this? Is there a voluntary manslaughter charge coming out of this? I have some thoughts about the woeful undercharging of the murderers of Breonna Taylor and why it seems that we know Black folks in general cannot get justice in the criminal and justice system, particularly when there are cops involved. But don't play this liberal hero charade to me, Merrick Garland, and by extension, the Biden administration. Something is better than nothing, I suppose. But when the bar of expectations is literally inside of the Earth's mantle, I do expect more. I am sorry. I want more coming out of that. So we're going to get into that in just a bit. Also, gang, there was something that caught my eye that maybe y'all peeped it. I didn't peep it until I started to put the show together. But last week was one of the biggest global conferences, international global conferences pertaining to HIV/AIDS, and it was held in Montreal, Quebec, and Canada. And it was, I love to say this, let me say, racked by protests. It was racked by protests. The protesters came out. Why did the protesters come out in Montreal? Because Canada, with big neo-colonial energy, knew that they were having this international global conference on HIV/AIDS and still either slow walked or outright denied visas for dozens and hundreds of African health officials, denied Africans from coming to the global international conference on HIV/AIDS. And it was just a madness. But I wanted to show you guys how the protesters showed up. And there was a lot of dragging of America in the ways that the United States has handled this global pandemic and the clear dropping of the ball in real time that we are seeing in this country as it pertains to monkeypox. They are just letting monkeypox just run amok in the U.S. Like, what is going on? And they about to send y'all kids back to school in the midst of a monkeypox outbreak. I am horrified. I am so appalled and horrified. And also coming up at the end of the show, I want us to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of one of the Angola-free, Mr. Albert Woodfox, passed away in Louisiana this week. And it is Black August. And listen, guys, I'm here with people who are commemorating and marking Black August. I'm still learning about Black August. And if you are still learning about Black August as well, of course, I encourage you to go on over to Black Power Media. All month long, the channel is full of programming, full of in-depth interviews and conversations surrounding the significance of Black August, why it's important for Black people to acknowledge and commemorate Black August. And while I am saddened by Mr. Woodfox's departure, I think it seems to be not a huge coincidence that he left during Black August. So we're going to take a moment to acknowledge him at the end of the program. But do me a favor, if you have not already, can you please hit a thumbs up, a like, just pretend that you like the show, if you don't mind, and share it around the webs, hither and thither, near and far. We are on a lot of different platforms. Shout out to Northern Witch, who is moderating for us over on Twitch. You can find us there at BIDWKB. Same on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. If you want to support the channel materially, we certainly appreciate that. You can do so via Super Chat. You can do so via Cash App at BIDWKB, Venmo at BIDWKB, and or at Patreon, patreon.com/BIDWKB. Thank you so much to some of our new patrons. Thank you so much to Shay. Thank you so much to Meg. Thank you so much to Global Sisters Media Collective. Thank you so much to Kofi. We certainly appreciate you guys supporting. It definitely means a lot. We love our patrons to pieces. We love everybody to pieces, but the patrons do what needs to be done out here. What's up, Chewy Craft? Come through. Thank you so much for your super chat. Wait. Someone else ran us some books before that. Oh, JG, thank you so much. JG said it's not dropping the ball. It's on purpose. These saltines are the same as their ancestors and purposely gave smallpox blankets to indigenous people and experimented on Black people. JG, I mean, it seems as though, the descendants of the original bioterrorists that came from Europe, some of their descendants is like, yep, we are going to continue this work. We are going to continue on this mission to spread new and different plagues, like our foremothers and forefathers in the fatherland. I don't even know what the fuck they call Europe. Hell, I don't know what the fuck to call Europe. Whew, Europe's a lot. Chewy Craft says, for the current abortion fund. Oh, thank you so much, Chewy Craft. And thank you so much for that very quick reminder. Appreciate that, Chewy Craft. Yes. Oh, well, so I was going to, well, fuck it. I don't have a graphic for us. I might as well just announce it right now. It's fine. So I did the additions and then I did the calculations. So for our abortion fund support for the month of July, we were supporting the Kentucky Health Justice Network. So in addition to the channel's donation and the other donations that people sent in, our total contribution to the Kentucky Health Justice Network for the month of July will be $360. Now, that to me, thank you. That's great. That is awesome. If we do not raise that amount this month, I hope it's because people decide to donate directly to Chelsea's Fund in Wyoming. If you go to our link tree, or if you go to the fucking box at the top of the chat, Molly put the link directly to Chelsea's Fund right there. So if you want to find them, locate them, make a direct donation, that is the way to do that. However, if you do run us bucks, and like Chewy Craft just did so very helpfully to designate it as for the abortion fund fundraiser this month, we will add that to our $50 donation. And again, we're just asking people to contribute $5 if you got $5. So thank you so much, Chewy Craft, for going above and beyond and giving up that dub for the women's out there in Wyoming who need those access to abortion services. So thank you so much for supporting that effort that we're doing here. What's going on, everybody? Hey, Latif. What's up, Holly? Schultze, how you doing? Court, my baby girl's here. Cape Socialist, hey, what's going on, honey? I'm so happy to see you guys. Afraid not. Johnnie is here. Also, just a really quick reminder, Monday is going to be our Around the Fire Disability Support Chat for the month of August. We do that every second Monday. That is available for the patrons, but truly it's available for everybody. So if you are interested in that, please reach out directly either to I don't even know where to tell y'all because I ain't checking messages nowhere at the moment. Yeah, let's just go with that Gmail. If you're interested and you want to participate in the Around the Fire Disability Support Chat, you could do so by reaching out to me via the Gmail that is on our contact page here, here and somewhere. Was that all I had to do? Was that all the housekeeping announcements? That's all I can think of. Oh, and thank you really quick to everybody who tuned in and checked me out Wednesday at Status Quo News. We had a really good show. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Garnet Henderson from the Access Pod. And thanks again to Richie Serginko and Nicole from the People's City Council out in Los Angeles. You guys may see me doing that a couple times in the future going forward. So I will be sure to let everybody know if we do that again. But thank you so much to Northern Witch and Nat A and Court and all the people them. I think I saw James Thompson in there. Afra was in there. Appreciate the Fire Fam showing up. That really made me feel good. I said, look at my ends and my non-ends. My ends and my non-ends. Okay, dude, that's the shit I'm talking about, people. Woo! Anyway, let's get the show started. And let's start in Russia. You guys, the pictures of Brittany Griner have been absolutely just really heartbreaking. It's been really hard to see Brittany enduring all this. Now been in Russia, incarcerated for the past 6 months. A judge this week, yesterday, ruled that Brittany will be sentenced to 9 years in connection to possessing hashish cartridges, allegedly. Brittany has pled guilty to this, hoping that would sort of mitigate the sentence that she received. It did not. It did not seem to do much. But we know that this trial, like most trials relating to drugs, pertaining to Black people, lots of places, this was some bullshit, right? But obviously, there are geopolitical factors at play here, and Brittany is a pawn in this entire situation. But and because we have been talking about Brittany on this platform, we have been talking about Brittany on Black Power Media, really since it was announced that she was being detained. There's a couple things I wanted to say here. Well, first of all, let me say this. Jacqueline Lupon has got the analysis on this, okay? If you checked out Jackie's People's Powers lunch yesterday, Jackie has got the good analysis on this. I got the laywoman's analysis on this. But my shit is going to be some sort of variation of this shit is fucked up, but I'm going to say it a little bit more wordily than that. But I mean, really, I don't know what more I can say that I have not already said as it pertains to Brittany. I worry about her safety. I worry about her mental status. She was set to begin that 9-year prison term the day that the judge laid the shit down. They sending Brittany to a fucking prison colony. I wonder if it's the same one they sent old girl from Pussy Riot to. Nadia Tolokonova. I think that's her name. Don't even correct my Russian, dog. don't correct me on her Russian names. I probably definitely said the shit wrong. But anyway, I mean, that shit ain't no joke, right? I mean, regardless of the situation, Brittany is still facing some sort of punishment for this. And again, I stand by the fact that I do not think that she even did what she is accused of. I am willing to wager that when Brittany comes home, and I do believe Brittany is coming home, and I actually think she's probably coming home sooner than we think. I think Brittany probably, where we are in August, let me put a couple bucks down on that. Brittany will be back home right around the holidays, a little before, a little after. So towards the late 2022, early 2023, mark my words, I'm saying that Brittany's going to be back here in 6 to 7 months, right? I do believe that. I believe that she's going to be exchanged, right? Because what Anyway, they want Victor Boot is the bottom line. They want Victor Boot, and the Biden administration is not happy about the amount of public pressure that they've been getting. Again, credit to Brittany's family and her support system for finally starting to raise their voices, and there's starting to be some more action diplomatically on behalf of Biden with Secretary of State Blinken and then Foreign Minister Lavrov on the Russian side. But it's just it's always a scary feeling to know that, number one, as a black, like I said, I don't believe that Brittany had these drugs at all. I'm sorry, like, I don't believe that she packed the shit from America, right? Was in Russia for, I'm not even sure what the duration of time she had just spent in Russia. It had at least been several weeks, I'm going to assume, right? So you're telling me she packed the shit in America, had the shit with her in Russia, and then packed it again to bring it home? Stop playing with me. That sounds like rookie mistakes. And Brittany had been in Russia playing professional basketball by this time 5 seasons? Come on. I believe that when Brittany gets back home, she's going to tell us the real story, that she never had the shit, that this shit was all trumped up. I don't believe. I'm sorry. It does not make sense. You travel international, being black people, I think you all can attest to this. But traveling internationally whilst black, you double and triple check your shit to make sure that you were not dirty at all. You were not dirty at all, because you will be the one whose ass gets him the fuck up, taken out of line, and be forced to deal with some foreign law enforcement. And then you try to fuck with the American embassy. Them niggas looking at you like, hey, nigger, you're lucky we issued you as a passport. What you think? You got some sort of rights to citizenship out here? No, not really. You know that. That shit don't change just because you leave the country. You barely got fucking rights when you are on American soil. Anyway, what's up, Shirley? Big Teal, come through. Super Patriot, what's up? So anyway, that's all I'm gonna say about Brittany. I encourage you guys to check out Jackie Luqman's People's Power Lunch on Black Power Media, because Jacqueline has got the deeply astute analysis on this, and for the record, it is absolutely free. Brittany Griner, and for the record, it's free Victor Boot out this bitch. Free Victor Boot. Get Victor Boot ass the fuck up out the Supermax, man. Let Victor Boot go home. You seen Victor Boot's mustache on TV? Ooh, that nigga look like a killer. Oh, he look like a killer. That nigga look like he be putting polonium in motherfuckers' tea. Unbeknownst to them. Ooh, it's always, because to me, like people think like scary white people, look like bikers with tattoos and long hair. No, it is the ordinary. it is the regular looking white people. It is the nerdy looking white people. It is the unassuming looking white people. If you know any better, if you got good sense, you know that those are the most dangerous ones. And I suggest you keep an eye on them when you are out and about. Shirley, thank you so much for your super chat, sweetheart. Super chat. Yeah, I know that. Y'all better know that too, by the way. Y'all see how this shit going out here. Y'all see how this shit going out here. All right, speaking of how this shit is going out here, I'm sorry, gang. I hope my COVID symptoms aren't starting to manifest. I'm kidding about that, and I know that's not even something to properly joke about. But my voice sounds a little weird. I feel fine. It's been a week since the super spreader event I went to at Meriwether Post Pavilion. It's been a week since I went to the super spreader event. I feel fine. I don't have no random symptoms. It's just that my voice sounds a little weird. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. So the next story I wanted to talk about has to do with these charges announced yesterday by Attorney General Merrick Garland about the Department of Justice charging 4 Louisville Metro police officers with a variety of civil rights violations against these motherfuckers in connection to Breonna Taylor's murder. And let's go ahead and hear from Merrick so I can tell y'all why I'm personally not happy with this, and I think this is grossly insufficient. But what you're about to hear is, a condensed version of his press conference, which was relatively short, by the way. And I don't think, well, anyway, this is the clip that I saw on C-SPAN. I didn't see questions asked, but that doesn't mean those questions weren't asked. But this is just a segment of the press conference that I saw yesterday. And he's going to begin by talking about how the officers conspired to attain search warrants for different residences in Louisville and in proximity to Louisville under, let's say, dubious circumstances, illegal circumstances. But once he gets to the end, and this clip is about 2 minutes long, listen how he kind of gives some sort of tacit absolution to the officers who eventually entered Breonna's home without announcing themselves, and those officers who ended up murdering Breonna, shooting and killing her while she was legally in her house, having no connection to the quote unquote law enforcement work that these rogue cop murderers were out here doing on the streets of Louisville. So let's check out Marilyn Garland yesterday.
On March 12, 2020, officers from that unit sought 5 search warrants they claimed were related to the suspected drug trafficking. 4 of those warrants targeted properties in the West End where that activity was allegedly occurring. A 5th search warrant was for Breonna Taylor's home, which was approximately 10 miles away from the West End. The federal charges announced today allege that members of the Place-Based Investigations Unit falsified the affidavit used to obtain the search warrant of Ms. Taylor's home, that this act violated federal civil rights laws, and that those violations resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. Specifically, we allege that Ms. Taylor's Fourth Amendment rights were violated when defendants Joshua Janes, Kyle Meany, and Kelly Goodlatte sought a warrant to search Ms. Taylor's home knowing that the officers lacked probable cause for the search. We allege that the defendants knew the affidavit in support of that warrant contained false and misleading information and that it omitted material information. Among other things, the affidavit falsely claimed that officers had verified that the target of the alleged drug trafficking operation had received packages at Ms. Taylor's address. In fact, defendants Janes and Goodlatte knew that was not true. We further allege that defendants Janes and Meany knew the search warrant would be carried out by armed LMPD officers and that conducting that search could create a dangerous situation for anyone who happened to be in Ms. Taylor's home. As outlined in the charging documents, the officers who ultimately carried out the search at Ms. Taylor's apartment were not involved in the drafting of the warrant and were unaware of the false and misleading statements it contained.
Doesn't that sound like Merrick Garland is making some fucking excuses for the officers that inevitably came through Breonna Taylor's front door? What the fuck difference does it make if the officers were unaware about the false and misleading information on the warrant? What does that give them the right to come into her home guns blazing? And again, like Breonna's boyfriend said, and of course we have every reason to believe him because he was truthful about the entire situation from the jump. He said that those officers came in the door and didn't announce themselves. So whether or not the knowledge that they may or may not have had about the credibility of the information within the warrant is really not the fucking point here, now is it? And what really has angered me about this, first of all, let me say this. I saw some comments from Breonna's mother, and she seemed encouraged by the announcement about these charges. And she said that, she feels as though this will be justice for her daughter. And I want to acknowledge that because what I'm about to say, I do not want to take anything away from how Breonna's mother feels about this. She is entitled to feel how she feels about this. She's not wrong to feel the way that she feels about this. This woman has been through a lot. I cannot even imagine to put myself into her shoes and endure the, settlement notwithstanding. The city of Louisville and the Louisville Metropolitan Police Department showed a tremendous amount of disrespect to Breonna's dead body and to her mother when her mother showed up at Breonna's apartment complex to try to ascertain what happened to her child. They did this woman extremely wrong. So I just want to acknowledge Breonna's mother is absolutely entitled to feel happy about this news. But when I heard this news, I'm listening to the charges. Okay, conspiracy, unconstitutionally excessive force, violating Breonna's Fourth Amendment rights. Where's the murder charge? Where's the fucking manslaughter charge? Like, where is the actual charge that addresses that Breonna Taylor is no longer alive? Like, it is extreme cowardice and typical moderate liberal tiptoeing, soft shoeing, want to stick a tiny toe in the water, but don't really want to jump right in and address the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Like, you want to do some shit around the margins, but you never want to go to the heart of the problem, liberal Democrats and moderates. Like, they never want to actually go after white supremacist corruption in law enforcement. They want to take these little teeny tiny steps. Unconstitutionally, excessive force, falsifying information to obtain warrants. It's like, this woman is dead. Who is accountable and responsible for that? Who is going to jail for that? Because out of truly, I mean, and I was going to say, out of all the victims of police brutality and police murder, I was going to say, Breonna honestly could be among the most innocent. But you know what? there are hundreds, thousands of Black folks and brown folks who have been murdered by police who are as equally as innocent as Breonna and didn't have shit to do with shit and just were taken senselessly by these agents of the state. But it truly does not get more innocent than Breonna Taylor. Someone who was truly in her home, in what was supposed to be a safe place for her. And the only officer charged prior to the Department of Justice announcing these civil rights charges was charged with wantonly endangering other people in the neighboring apartments because he was shooting so wildly, bullets flew into another apartment. And that is the only person who has been charged with that. And that motherfucker was acquitted via a jury earlier this year. And not that I had any expectations of, I think his name is Daniel Cameron, the Kentucky Attorney General, that sellout looking motherfucker who did not want to charge the cops with anything, right? And allowed, as Kalechi would say, a lot of higgy haga in relation to the evidence that the Louisville police fabricated and put forth. And one of the things covered in this Department of Justice charging has to do with two of the officers conspiring in a garage after the murder of Breonna Taylor, saying, trying to coordinate their stories, basically saying that they needed to get on the same page. So out of these four officers, four of them have already been fired from the Louisville Police Department, and two of them, it was announced this week, have terminations pending. Okay. But again, somebody losing a job does not nearly equate to Breonna Taylor losing her life. Someone getting charged. And again, and the other thing is, and I have to confess, like I was remiss in researching this independently. I read several articles and I was a little quizzical as to why it wasn't mentioned in any other articles. And my dumbass should have Googled the shit my fucking self, but I didn't. But anyway, what kind of time these charges carry, man? What kind of time these charges carry? I know they're federal charges. I know if convicted, they're going to have to do, 80% of that time before they'll be considered for parole, or for any probation or anything like that. But what kind of time these charges carry? And how come the Department of Justice, is the Department of Justice I can't see how they couldn't have it. Of course they do. I was going to say, does the Department of Justice actually have the authority to charge people with murder and charge people with, accompanying charges of murder, conspiracy, and then lesser charges of murder, manslaughter, etc.? Of course they do. They would charge the mob niggas with all kinds of shit. So you're telling me that Merrick Garland's Department of Justice, Joe Biden's Department of Justice, could be charging these cops with murder and just isn't? And that's the shit I'm talking about, man. That's the shit I'm talking about. How many cases, and again, Black people at large for sure, but y'all know this is a Black woman centered channel, so I'm here to amplify the experiences and the voices of Black women first and foremostly. But I'm thinking about Rekia Boyd in Chicago, how the cop who murdered her, Jason Van Dyke, Van Dyke is who killed Laquan McDonald. Who killed Rekia Boyd? His name was I thought his name was Jason something too. But either way, he was a former police officer. I believe he did not even have to serve out his entire sentence in connection to the killing of Rekia Boyd. In case you don't know what happened to Rekia Boyd was minding her business, hanging out with friends outside. She was hanging out outside in Chicago, and this cop, white cop, had issue, I suppose, with the level of noise and just started firing wantonly down a occupied street and shot and killed Rekia. She was shot in the head. And it took them forever to get any kind of charges against him. See, now I'm thinking, I think I'm getting Laquan McDonald and Rekia Boyd transposed. But again, there's been so many, like it is hard to keep track. Ayanna Stanley Jones, the little girl in Detroit who was killed by a flash bomb when the SWAT team kicked in her family's door. I don't think the cop went down for that either. Anyway, but it's just amazing to me how it is continually reinforced. Like these are all messages that the system gives us, and it's reinforced, by media, and then reinforced in the way that society interacts with Black women generally. But these sort of failure to address that people should be held accountable for the murders of Black women. When these murders are not charged as murders and they're charged with all this other lesser shit, you're telling Black women that your lives don't really matter. That if somebody kills you, they don't have to go to fucking jail for killing you. They got to go to jail for conspiring to suppress your constitutional rights. That ain't the fucking same, man. That ain't the same. Them things ain't equal, okay? Them things ain't equal. Breonna's constitutional rights could have been violated and her life did not have to be taken. So who is being accountable for that? Who is being held accountable for that? And it's not surprising, but it continues to be disappointing, again, from people like the Democrats, like Joe Biden and his minions, his administration. They talk about they are the champions of justice. They want to bring justice to the community that basically supports them in elections. The Black voting bloc subtracted away from Democrats. Democrats are in trouble. But they claim to be the ones who are the defenders of Black rights, I suppose, in some arbitrary, weird, wayward way. But no, not really. not really. And they are determined to refund the police to the gills and tell us that, isn't this what y'all wanted? Isn't this what y'all asked for? Didn't y'all ask for more police? Yeah, we know that the police murder people and we don't hold them accountable for it, but they just need better training. Here's $30 billion. We're going to get them better training. So I guess they shoot y'all better. So they shoot the next person in Akron, Ohio with 61 bullets instead of just 60, better training. Get me out of here. Beam me the fuck up. I keep meaning to grab pictures from that telescope, the new telescope, of all the pretty pictures in the distant galaxies, because that's where I like to go. It's like, I bet you it's nice there. Let's get in that Bezos dick rocket. Let's fucking I guess you cannot carjack a dick rocket. You could you know what? Let me shut up. So let me hush. Let me hush. My mother is watching, I'm sure. Let me be quiet. Anyway, gang, I appreciate y'all being here. Do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to Burn It Down with Kim Brown. I'm not sure where we are, but we are mighty close to 3,000 subscribers. And listen, thank you all so much for your help, for your support, for getting the word out about the channel. Again, I get happy from little victories. So, well, anyway, getting to 3,000 subscribers to me is not a little victory. We have been on the YouTube streets for approximately 18 months. So it's a slog, but we are getting there. So I want to thank everybody who has already subscribed to the channel. And tell a friend, biatch. We need them subscriptions up. Get us, help us out. Yeah, it is definitely not safe for work, Monty. I was about to say, Imani. Imani, I had to catch myself, Imani. And I know YouTube has already made it algorithmically clear that this channel is not suited for children. I'm aware of that. But I try to keep it a little clean because, you know, like I said, my mother be watching and shit. So, well, clean in terms of not sexually explicit. I'd be nice that way. I'm vulgar and I do curse, and my mama she's just gonna have to deal. She's gonna have to deal, but it's cool. Now moving on to this next story, gang. Again, I cannot call this. I mean, this is not breaking news. This is interesting. This is notable news, and I think this is actually the kind of story that I would have reported on the Remix Morning Show had we been doing the Remix Morning Show this week on Black Power Media. But since we got the Remix Morning Show off, this is an issue that affects Black folks. And it reveals a lot of different things. It reveals the ways in which neocolonialism and imperialism still very much manifests itself in our global health system. And as Jonathan Carrero astutely pointed out to us in his super chat comment, obviously that shit is intentional. You know, like the European and North American, you know, they hope every disease gets to where Black folks live and to Black countries. They want them shits to run amok. Them niggas just sit there and shrug like, oh, what do you mean? It's AIDS epidemic? Monkeypox is an epidemic? You don't say. That sounds terrible for the Negroes. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys knew this or not, but despite the fact that there has been tremendous progress in slowing the spread of HIV and AIDS across the globe, during the pandemic, there was actually an uptick in HIV cases, not just globally, but right here in Los Estados Unidos, okay? Like, I don't have it here, but I happened to catch, in doing my research, sometimes I find myself looking at really interesting programs, and I happened to catch a PBS, like a local PBS show based out of Louisiana, where they had a local HIV/AIDS advocate, and she's hilarious. By the way, she was like, yeah, in the same way that people didn't want to wear the mask during the pandemic, they didn't want to wear the condoms either. So AIDS, and well, not so much AIDS, but rates of HIV have actually gone up, and we know globally, Africa and African people of the diaspora are disproportionately impacted by rates of HIV/AIDS. And in spite of the fact that now that there are treatments that can help make the virus not transmissible and undetectable, obviously you can imagine who has access to that globally and who does not have access to that globally. So these are some of the issues that were going to be addressed at last week's AIDS 2022 Global International Conference that was held in Montreal, right? And Canada, not only did Canada know that they were hosting this, right? Canada lobbied the UN AIDS, body to be the host country for this particular conference. So why in the fuck didn't Canada make sure that representatives coming from Africa had their travel visas approved in a timely fashion, or if at all? Let's set the tone here. Let's take a look at Montreal City News, this package from Montreal City News, where this young reporter does a good job of laying out the basic facts and getting reaction from both sides. Let's take a look at Montreal City News.
As we speak, some of them, they were supposed to travel yesterday for the conference, but they've not received their passports.
The 24th International AIDS Conference, one of the largest globally, is set to begin later this week here in Montreal, but many delegates and attendees from across the world still haven't been able to get their visas to be able to make the trip, leaving many facing the reality that they may not be able to attend.
It's a bittersweet moment for myself.
We last spoke to Tinashe Rufawadzo, part of Y Plus Global, an international organization that promotes the voices of youth living with HIV earlier this month.
I think we are also trying to jump through hoops of fire with our influence and engagement advisor and the events coordinator being denied visas.
Since then, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada announced it would be prioritizing the processing of visa applications for delegates attending the conference. And according to the conference's local co-chair, the amount of delegates that do not have their visas has dropped from 800 to 200, but many are still in limbo.
I've not yet received it. I was supposed to have traveled yesterday. We have also paid accommodation with other colleagues who are also trying to postpone their flights in case they might receive their passports before the end of the conference. But we are also looking at having 2 days that is left to the International AIDS Conference, which is also leaving many people not quite sure on what exactly they should do.
Leading up to the conference, many criticized Canada for bidding to host the event, spending millions on it without making sure all attendees would be given a visa to be able to attend. An attendee for the conference and founder of the African Alliance for HIV Prevention tweeted, after nearly $20,000 in visa fees, biometric costs, travel back and forth, public fights for visas, and today's refusal by United Airlines for us to board, we are canceling our AIDS conference participation to avoid further loss. Another tweeting, 69% of people with HIV live in Africa. I'm attending AIDS 2022 in Montreal this week with very mixed emotions. Hundreds of delegates from Africa cannot attend due to visa denials. Global Health, which excludes important voices from poor countries, cannot be effective. This must change. Many, like Rufawadzo, are now forced to partake virtually.
I'm not going to be there in person, but there are also other young people from Africa, other young people who are living with HIV, other young people who are also affected and most at risk of HIV who are going to be at this conference speaking in sessions. And also we are going to be joining virtually and making use of some other communication platforms to ensure that the voices of young people in all our diversity are also amplified.
In Montreal, Felicia Adam, City News.
Now, you know, Canada trifling is shit for that because, you know, that was not by accident. That wasn't some oversight. That wasn't, oh, we didn't realize that the process would take a little longer. No, the nation lobbied to have this event, okay? And let's just be real. They were obviously discriminating heavily against the people who were attempting to come from Africa. And without a question, the Africans' exclusion was based in racism, and it's like, well, there's some anti-immigration racism going on right there, some xenophobia happening right there. There's also this exclusionary tactics there, trying to silence basically the voices of the people who are most affected by this virus and the effects of this disease globally. I mean, the fucking audacity. It's not surprising though. And that's the thing, when people be like, oh, if Trump gets elected, I'm going to Canada. Oh, well, you'll have a swell white time up there in Canada, because please don't think that Canada does white supremacy any less harshly than the United States. They're just more polite and they keep their country a little cleaner. That's it. It is basically Americans with different accents. That's it. Canada ain't no fucking different from the U.S. in terms of its settler colonialist roots and its white supremacist pathology. That shit is pathological. Make no fucking mistake about it. So I wanted to hear very quickly from, and again, I have to say, like the organizers of this. Anytime I see the United Nations involved in anything, I'm skeptical, right? I'm skeptical. So the UN AIDS organization that was one of the driving forces behind this conference. It is headed by a Black woman, which we know. We know the uselessness of representation, and the organization itself is based in Geneva, Switzerland. Again, red flag. However, the sis did make some good comments here, and I can't take anything away from that. So I at least wanted to acknowledge that somebody else affiliated with this conference said something about the shit. And sis's name is Winnie Bayanyamia. I'm very bad. Miss Winnie had comments. Miss Winnie told them people about themselves. So let us hear from Miss Winnie.
If ever we were in doubt that racism and colonialism, neocolonialism are in global health and international development at the center, think about the hundreds of experts and activists and government officials who do not have the unearned privilege of possessing a European, North American, British or Australian passport and were blocked from attending this very important conference. These spaces continue to be elitist, dominated by the global north. Systemic racism is a global emergency.
Just deep that for a second. Systemic racism is a global emergency. After 3 years of this pandemic with COVID, and especially seeing the way that COVID was allowed to wreak havoc amongst Black and brown people in the US, and even as our dear Ursula told us, allowed to wreak havoc amongst Black and brown people in the UK. I mean, systemic racism is a global health emergency, period, point blank. But the problem is, it's created, it's intentional, it's deliberate, right? It doesn't have to be this way. You could just provide people access to the care that they need, to the medicines that they need, and not hoard it amongst wealthy, majority white or white dominated global north nations, right? The fact that most of the drugs used to treat HIV now, to take down the viral load, to make the virus undetectable and to make it not transmissible between people, Africa doesn't have access to that shit, okay? The majority of the people in Africa don't have access to this. So basically, we have the potential to truly eradicate HIV/AIDS. We could do it. Like, it could be done. You could just give everybody the fucking medicine. Like, it's available. Do you guys know how frustrating it is, anyway, to live under an economic system? Of course, you guys know how frustrating it is, but I'm being rhetorical here, but like, to know that technology exists, to know that the medical advances in treatments have been there, not just for HIV/AIDS, but really across the board in a variety of things. And the reasons why people can't get access to literal cures that they need has everything to do with medical apartheid, white supremacy, racism, capitalism. Burn this fucking shit down. I'm so goddamn tired. But I'm not the only one who's tired, because guess what? The kids in Montreal came out. The kids in Montreal said, guess what? Y'all not about to have this little conference all quiet and shit. We about to tear some shit up in a good way. They came out there and made some good trouble, as they would say. So we're going to see a montage of clips beginning with a bunch of people protesting through the conference floor, demanding accountability for the visa denials to lots of Africans who were supposed to attend. The next clip after that, we're going to see more activists marching through the AIDS 2022 exhibition hall, singing "You Unequals You." Effective treatment prevents the transmission of HIV/AIDS. They talk about unequal access. And then the last clip we're going to see is a group of sex workers who actually participated in the protest. And the words that they had to say to those conference attendees are something that I want you guys to pay close attention to. So let's take a look at the montage of clips from protest actions at the AIDS 2022 Global AIDS Conference in Montreal.
Why do we want justice? 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 Why do we want ready for you people to
There's no more excuse. The price of entry for any future AIDS gathering, any AIDS conference, is the complete support with action of the decriminalization of sex work, of drugs, of homosexuality, of non-disclosure of HIV. I hear a lot of people applauding right now, but a lot of you that are applauding are the people we are protesting against. A lot of you like to applaud when we come and speak, and you send us messages saying how amazing we are as activists. But you go home and you cash your big paychecks that you make from the fight against HIV. You continue your careers, your prestigious lives made on the back of our dying bodies. We are not your pawns. We are human beings. We deserve to live. There will be no advance in the fight against HIV until decriminalization is the first step on everyone's agenda. When we say decriminalize us and you respond with money for treatment, that's an insult. When we say free us from jail and instead you bring us needles in prison, that is an insult. That is a violation of our rights. If you want us part of your movement, you need to start listening. I do not want to come back, none of us want to come back to any other HIV event and see a single politician on stage who isn't taking concrete action to change laws.
You know, it is really beyond time. It is past time. It is overdue for really governments around the world, but let's stay close to home here, right here in North America, the United States and Canada, and really, I mean, we need to be taking the decriminalization of sex work extremely seriously. Like, there is no point of holding on to these Victorian morality laws when clearly Babylon has no rules, and any rules that Babylon tries to enforce, people always find a way around them shits. But the problem is, it is sex workers who bear the brunt of the number one, the stigma of sex work, and then sometimes some of the public health outcomes. Like, people are not, as the speaker said there, people are not listening to sex workers, to the needs of sex workers, to some of the things that sex workers say will help to not only make their profession more safe, but do more to erase the stigma of HIV, AIDS, and STIs in general, but make sure that people are getting treated for the shits. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's cures to things. This is what drives me crazy. Like, people act like this is still, like this is the 1920s and we don't have access to shit. Like, and you can feel how you want to feel about vaccines, about antibiotics. That's all well and good. But you can't say that ain't shit out here available to you for certain things, to treat certain diseases, to treat certain things. They are there. Now, their accessibility is an entirely different thing, whether or not you have access to health care, whether or not you have money, depending on the kind of health care that you have. I saw Jackie Lukman tweeting the other day about the procedures that she needs to have in connection with the health issue that she's dealing with. But she said that, imagine if she didn't have access to quote unquote good insurance, would she be receiving the level of care that she's getting? And as somebody who at times has had either no insurance or not good insurance, and then sometimes I have had great insurance, and I know there is a difference in the level of treatment, in the level of care that you receive, depending on your socioeconomic status. And even, I would imagine, in the case of sex workers, the ways in which you are treated because of the work that you do. And let's be clear, sex work is work. Haven't we had this conversation? Everybody knows sex work is work. You know why? Because even if you are a penis owner operator or not a penis owner operator, it takes work to get that penis to do the final outcome of what the penis would prefer to do. Anybody who has handled a penis would have to agree with that. Sex work is work, even if it's your own penis. Am I right, fellas? Okay. I already know I'm right. Anyway, so I wanted to say kudos and hats off to the amazing protesters and activists there in Montreal. I heard some indigenous activists there. We saw some Black, we saw immigrants, we saw, I would imagine, regular old radical white Canadians coming through. And, Canada needs to be dragged as much, if not more, than the U.S. for being just a horrible actor in the colonization of the Americas. Now, Canada may not have had slavery in the same way that the U.S. had, but everything that they did to their indigenous folks, to the indigenous nations, to the First Nations people there of that land continues to be horrible and abhorrent. So double middle finger to Canada. Fuck Trudeau. Fuck all the bitch ass niggas up in immigration who was slow walking and or denying those Africans their travel visas. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. And so before we get out of here, gang, like I mentioned to you before, it is Black August, and over on Black Power Media, my comrades there are just giving us lessons. They are giving us deans. They are giving us just a trove of information, of knowledge, of practice, of spiritual practice, scholarly practice, practice, all kinds of practices in commemoration of Black August. And as I mentioned, I am still learning about Black August, and I'm so grateful for Black Power Media even existing to be a repository of information for us all to learn about. And I saw Kalanji tweet about this yesterday. And when I read and even began to watch a documentary, I wanted to pull some clips from the documentary I found on YouTube, but I was so engrossed in it, I couldn't pick which clip to actually play because they were all incredibly deep, as we know that the Panthers veterans from that era all were incredibly wise and militant and organized. But this week, we lost Albert Woodfox. Now, Albert Woodfox was one of the Angola Three. And as I was learning about Mr. Woodfox's contribution to Black liberation, I was blown away. So Albert Woodfox was convicted, I believe, of robbery in 1971, and he was sentenced to Louisiana's harsh Angola prison, Angola plantation. Just I think if hell had a zip code, I think it would safely be Angola. And while he was serving his sentence there, he linked up. Well, first of all, he was falsely accused of murdering a prison guard. And I believe that he had if not one, certainly two trials. That sounds right. He had two trials in connection to this murder of a prison guard. But he was being set up for that murder. He did not actually commit that murder. And I think the third time that they attempted to try him, he pled no contest to a lesser charge, and was eventually released from Angola, I think just a few years ago. Now, what part of the reason that, well, number one, he's known for a lot of reasons, but one of the, and it kind of blows my mind to even say that this man endured this aloud, but he served 43 years in solitary confinement. Deep that, y'all. Dog, I just turned 44 last Friday. This man spent my entire life in solitary, not just behind the wall, in solitary, and came out alive and as determined as he ever was to make sure that Black folks got knowledge, got organized, and got clear on not only who our enemies are, but in the ways that we can organize ourselves to our liberation. So as part of the Angola 3, what he and his comrades did, hold on, yes, thank you for that. Robert King and Herman Wallace, they became known as the Angola 3. And while they were behind bars in Angola, they wrote Huey Newton in Oakland asking permission to form a Panther chapter at Angola. I believe it was the first ever prison chapter of the Black Panther Party. And they did that. And they executed all kinds of direct actions to try to improve the conditions of those incarcerated. They organized hunger strikes. They organized protections, attempting to protect, other inmates from things like sexual assault and abuse from the guards. One of the things that I heard Mr. Woodfox talk about in this documentary was things like getting slot holes cut into the prison doors so that inmates, rather incarcerated people, could be given their food, because what they were doing, the guards, they were sliding the inmates' food underneath the cell door. So it'd be getting dust and dirt and, vermin droppings and all kinds of shit in their food. And Albert Woodfox and his comrades organized. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, how the fuck do you organize in hell? Like, how do you literally organize while in hell? Like in actual hell. Black people are the most amazing, resilient folks in the world. Like, I swear to God, the strength of Black people sometimes, it just makes me marvel. Because I'm like, it almost can't be real. And I don't want to, overemphasize, this endless depth, this endless well of Black strength, as though Black people don't suffer greatly for the things that they endure. But my God, the endurance, like, I hate that we have to endure it. I hate that we are strong enough to endure such horrors, but we are. I don't want us to anymore. I would like for all that suffering and endurance of suffering to stop at some point. But we got to give it up to the God. Please rise in power to Albert Woodfox of the Angola 3. It's a tragedy. I'm so sorry that this man spent so many years of his life incarcerated, but look what he gave to us. I mean, and that's not an even exchange. The decades that he spent behind bars is not an even exchange for the commitment and the dedication to our people and to the struggle that he gave us. But he gave it. He gave it. He gave it. So I am very certain, though I do not know this for a fact, but I am pretty certain that my Black Power Media comrades are going to do some, like a special episode on Mr. Woodfox and his passing, because his contribution and his sacrifice to Black people was just so massive. So I am very certain that you could expect that over on BPM in the coming days. But gang, we are going to call that a night-night. really quick, did I already mention this? Yes, I did. Okay, so the July abortion fundraiser, we raised $360 that will be sent to the Kentucky Health Justice Network. And thank you again so much to everybody who donated and contributed. And you guys understand that even though the outcome of the vote in Kansas, where Kansans reaffirmed that pregnant people will have constitutional access remain to abortion services, there are half the fucking country where abortion is done out here, at least done in the temporary sense. But that temporary, when you are pregnant, becomes permanent very, very quickly, unless things happen. So this month, it's Casey's Fund. And that link is going to be found at the top of the chat box. And it's also in our link tree if you want to donate to them directly. But if you want us to donate on your behalf, just make sure you designate that. Make sure you put that in the message or in the subject line that you definitely want the money to go to the abortion fund, and we will definitely take care of that. So again, Monday, guys, come hang out with us for the August Around the Fire Disability Support Chat. Thanks again to Anna and Mama Lorraine for keeping this thing going, and to everybody that continues to show up. I think Wednesday I might be doing Status Quo, but I'll let y'all know that on Tuesday. And again, BPM, the Remix Morning Show, remains off for next week as we are on a temporary summer hiatus. So there is that. But please be sure to tune into my comrades. I Mix What I Like, Riot Starter TV, Luke Bond Nation, and the People's Power Lunch. They got all the things. And of course, Sundays with the Ear Doctor. Be sure to check that out as well. All right, gang, COVID. Yep. Yes. Still jumping on people. Monkeypox is climbing on people, okay? Like monkeypox is pinning people to the fucking ground, okay? 1, 2, 3. Monkeypox is doing niggas in. So don't let monkeypox do you in. Don't let COVID jump on you. Do not be out here kissing people at the bar. Do not be out here sharing drinks. Do not be out here doing random skin-to-skin contact. And first and foremostly, do not be out here thinking that because you are not a member of the LGBTQ community that you are not at risk for monkeypox. Monkeypox is skin-to-skin. Monkeypox is bodily fluids, not just the goo. It is also sweat. It is also saliva, body fluids, everybody. Come on. I know y'all are smart. I ain't got to tell y'all to smarten up. Tell the fucking world. Tell your friends and them. Tell your little friends out there in the world that they need to smarten the fuck up out here and act as though there's shit out here circulating that can jump on you and hurt you. So there's that. Gang, I love y'all to pieces. On behalf of Tunde and Molly, we will see you back here on Tuesday for another edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Love you guys. Have a safe weekend. See y'all later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, y'all.